Some people believe that you can measure the effectiveness of a teacher by their student outcomes. If you're a school leader, this video is for you. Hands up who likes performance management is a question no head teacher ever asks. But I'm now working with schools who are brave enough to ask this question, and the response is all the teachers' hands go up. Let me introduce you to one of my niche resources, the 5-minute appraisal plan or research inquiry. This is what it looks like. So step one, this is an important part. So think about your research interests and your potential research question. I'm a big fan of the urgent important matrix. So in the top left, things that would be really important to us might not be urgent. So when we think about maybe in our school lives, maybe there's an underperforming group. Well, that might be over in the right-hand side because it's likely to be your line manager's priority and your head teacher's priority. So it might be the case that maybe that needs to go in that top right-hand corner. But your own interests should go in the top left. Things that are going to be kind of hobby type, things that aren't going to make a big impact, bottom left. And then things which might involve others, sometimes where you delegate or you need other people to be part of your research project in some shape or form, not necessarily doing the legwork, but where you have a team of people collectively responsible for those outcomes, then I'd put that in the bottom right. And what you want to do here is scribble all your ideas, keywords, whether it's behavior, looking at retrieval practice. So that leads you moving towards a research inquiry question. Step two, we're now thinking about definitions and bias. So I'm going to give you some example questions here. I want you to think of what needs to be defined and where would a potential research question be introduced with some bias already set inside it. What makes a good research question? You know, obviously generating it, starting off with post-it notes, writing things on the board, talking to other people, all those things are pretty obvious. And then where would definitions come in to help you get started? It might be that how can we use retrieval practice at the start or end of a Year 8 maths lesson lead to XYZ? Under what conditions does non-verbal gestures in the classroom lead to improved attention span? What is the best way to improve student attendance in Year 8 after lunchtime, etc.? Will X make a difference to Y? Might reduce the bias in some of the questions that we have. So let me give you an example. Why do Year 12 Bangladesh students drop out of A2 history after 1 year? Well, it assumes that why do also has that assumption placed in. So we might need to rephrase this question to reduce potential bias. And again, not PhD projects here, teacher-friendly research and appraisal conducted in an academic year. So don't worry about it too much, but just be aware of it. How does literacy? Is there a type of literacy? Could we define it? Digital literacy, the old-fashioned paper version. Support vulnerable pupils in Year 10, so define vulnerable there. Do assembly rewards. What kind of rewards? Chocolate, attendance certificates. How do you define better attendance here? Why do so many teachers get promoted from core subjects? There's an interesting subject. What subjects are we talking about? What types of promotions? Set in, widen equality, so math sets, those kind of things. So think about your questions and how they might come with a bias. And again, narrow the focus. If I say, the boys never shut up, well, you need to ask me, is it all the boys and is it every lesson, all lesson, or is it just Ross and someone else on a Monday morning in a maths class when they're half asleep? You need to kind of think about these three processes first. A good kind of set of research questions, and I'll come back to this one later, is looking at the current evidence. When we think about PhD kind of level, doctorate level, we're contributing new knowledge to the rest of the world. Now, in teacher appraisal world, what we want to do is demonstrate impact, things that are working, and ultimately moving away from this idle model of teacher performance management where I give you 3 targets as a line manager. I want to flip the model where I'm engaged with my own research and I'm taking part myself and I'm excited to share what I'm finding because I've been given the autonomy to do so. So here are some big questions to consider when you think about how you're going to go off and gather the evidence, test interventions, those kind of things. So what comes next? The next part of the process is the time frame. So the time needs to be protected. And when I think about all the things that I know about appraisal and the work that I've done in schools, 2 biggest headaches, it's the time, it's dedicated or not, or your line manager doesn't dedicate the time during the working week. It's something that you do after school hours. And it's the quality of your line manager that makes a big difference here, whether they take it seriously and invest in your time also. So some big things to consider here. Now, when we identify our projects and our questions, think about your interventions. You can't do everything. Not every intervention will be the best choice, best effort, best impact, etc. So here's a little script for just working through how to be selective about those interventions. So there's your intervention model. The next step, your research approach. So this is where we're thinking about methodologies, and this is all new to me when I started my own doctoral research. So keeping it teacher friendly in the academic year. What is it that you want to know? What's the positive change? What's the current practice look like out there? How do you collect evidence sustainably in the academic year alongside your working week? And what do you hope to produce at the end? And some schools that I know doing this really well are publishing nice little research documents, one-page summaries of all their teacher projects, and also sharing it with the wider community. Now, this was from my research with UCL, the Verbal Feedback Project. This was our methodology, the Reflect, Ask, Investigate, Innovate method. And you can see how we squeeze this into the academic year. So this might be something that you might want to think about. Here are some key questions to ask at this stage. You know, your best current practice out there. What's the final outcome? How are you going to measure the evidence? Then at the investigate stage, what kind of evidence are we going to gather? What are the pitfalls? How can we be selective about the evidence? What are the risks associated? Don't forget the ethical risk, taking pictures, collecting data, and then in the future you share this publicly. Well, think about maybe sharing it publicly from the start. What ethics should be involved before you do so? Then the innovation stage, you might say that when Ross does retrieval practice in Year 8 maths, at the start of the lesson, it has a lesser impact than when I do it later on in the lesson. So that might prompt lots of bias about doing retrieval at the start of lessons in secondary schools, when sometimes we only see students once or twice a week and we do the retrieval to reactivate that prior knowledge. So tentative claims can be a bit provocative, but I guess it's that early feeler that I think the research is starting to say these claims. And then how do you publish your work? How do you share it, disseminate it, roll in that impact forward to other people, spread the word, and then refine your project for the year after? And at that point, I then think you come up with your initial research question, and then off you go for the rest of the academic year. So all these things in place to get to that research question. Then the next stage is the hard part, the research questions, refining it, collecting the evidence. And there's a lot more, but I'm giving you a little brief whistle-stop tour. Now, this is the hard part, and I didn't know this before. Research methods. There are many. Look at all these different ones at the top. How you collect the data, how you measure the data, how do you report back, make some claims, research findings. So think about the research method you use. Now, in the slide here, I've got some definitions. So most of us as teachers are familiar with case studies, experiments, things like that. How do you collect the data? Well, it might look like this. So you've got choices here. So let's say I do a case study and I want to do observations. Well, that's pretty straightforward and achievable in schools. But maybe I want to do a quasi-experiment. What's that? And then how do I collect the data? How do I measure it? And build that theory. So you've got this research framework, and here's my own teacher-friendly version. So on the screen here, you can see the matrix laid out in another way, which you can use as a mapping device or a matrix to see how you can widen your understanding of academic research, but also see how your teacher-friendly appraisal projects that aren't PhD studies, how can you do an appraisal project in the time that you have in an academic year, but under a kind of academic rigorous framework. This resource might help. And then we've got here where you come up with your final research question, given that you've now gone through the whole process, refined your question along the way, gathered your data, and now you can make that final research question before you publish your work. So here are some platforms I go to where I do find research easy, quickly, and for free. Here are 4 tools. Let me demonstrate them for you very quickly. The Education Endowment Foundation, all teachers in England should know about this platform. Their Teaching and Learning Toolkit. Here it is, quite simply. Play around with these bars here, look at the evidence strength, look at the cost, look at the impact on months, and it'll filter all the different projects. Then choose which one that it comes up with. So let's just look at behaviour here. And then you've got all the materials here, the research findings to look at. It's a great platform. The second one I'd recommend is looking at John Hattie's Visible Learning Meta-X. So it's from all the kind of research or what we call a meta-analysis. And you can see all the influences by domain, and then you can filter these by student, home, school, and lots of different things. So if I just choose, for example, here, I'm going to select home. I want to look at a database with lots and lots of students. Here, let's look at children that go into care homes, number of studies and different papers that you can look at. In this case, there's just one based on the filters. The next platform's Google Scholar. Now watch this when I type in certain key terms, how I can filter from millions of research entries to just a few hundred where I can really narrow down my research. Okay, so here is Google Scholar, open access, create an account, and here's how I would use it. So I'm going to type in here, go with retrieval practice as just a generic term. So at the very top left here, you'll see 6 million results. So where on earth do I start? Well, let's just go straight to putting these inside quotations. So we want to narrow the research, make sure the full word is mentioned inside a piece of research. We're down to 21,000 already. We're going to remove citations. I want to look at the latest retrieval practice research. Now, anything past 10 years, we'll have all different views about this, but let's keep up to date. So 2025, I'm down to 2,500. What a difference compared to 6 million. Okay, let's go a bit further, more niche. Let's go with drama, and let's also type classroom. So notice I'm putting all these in quotations. I'm down to 62. I could potentially look at these bits of research. Now, at the moment, it's very open-ended. So I'm going to type in England. I want to look at English classrooms, 25. So all these documents here, they are either books. So you see there's 3 books there, PDF, another book, another book. So unless I buy the book, I can't necessarily see the research. Let me just remove drama just for demonstration purposes. I'm up to 294. I've got three PDFs that I can look at, an HTML. So these might be behind a paywall. So top tip here on file, type, PDF, only now going to give me PDFs. And there's a great way, and I've got how many? 25 documents to skim through. And again, look at literature reviews, abstracts. You know, I can access the research very, very quickly. This should be your go-to platform for accessing research. And then the last one, there's many of these, but this is the one that I've got into the habit of using, Mendeley. These are all the research papers that I look at. I can go into each one, I can file them into different topics. So this is when I write my book publications, I put all the research into a folder. And as I go into any of them, I get all the references. I can read a document, I can see where my annotations, the highlights are, quote directly. It's just a fabulous tool. I'd really recommend that you look at this one, Zotero, BibTeX, whatever it might be, to get academic references if that's what you need to do. And how do you navigate academic research? Now, the next time you download a research paper and you're not quite sure where to start, whether it's the abstract, the literature review, the methodologies, or the limitations, this little map will help you ask key questions. What is it you're going to take away from reading that piece of research, and help widen your understanding of research papers that are published. I don't always read the full details of a research paper unless I'm deeply interested. So as you're digging around, skimming and researching different things, this will allow you to know what part of the paper to go to first. So there's lots more. Think about evaluation, dissemination, publishing your work for other people to see. And then you might want to think about where your school is at now in terms of research culture. So you've got here on the screen a traffic light system. So look at this row by row. So here it is, the 5-minute research inquiry appraisal plan. I probably need a better title. Think of it as the traditional appraisal model we have in schools, but flipping the model. The teacher is in charge of conducting action research, and they do this by posing an inquiry question. This takes you through a rigorous methodology to allow teachers to be trusted. It's curated with a small group, CPD leader, school leader, teaching and learning, line manager, another colleague, etc. They refine your question, they agree, they sign it off, and then you're given the time to go off and conduct your research, report back, and then come back in a whole kind of school conference, show and tell, 1-page summary of what you've discovered, where we're contributing to our own professional wisdom, the department, the team, and the whole school community with our research findings. And fingers crossed, we're moving to a school community that's very much research-led rather than done to with what we'd probably call old school performance management targets. But also to allow school and college leaders to have a more deeper methodology for evaluating teacher performance and contributions to wider school and college life. Let me know if you need any help bringing this to life.